The smoke still rose from the crashed shuttle when Tae-Yang found it. He had been walking through the ruins of Viridian 7 for 3 hours, checking for survivors. The war between humans and the Kalth Empire had turned this colony world into a graveyard. Buildings lay broken like shattered bones. The air smelled of burnt metal and death. Tae-Yang was a combat medic. He wore the gray uniform of Earth's military, with a red cross on his shoulder that marked him as a healer. His medical bag felt heavy as he climbed over the twisted metal of the shuttle. He expected to find bodies. The war had taught him to expect death. Then he heard it. A baby crying. The sound stopped him cold. In 2 years of war, he had heard many terrible things. Explosions, screams, the dying words of soldiers. But a baby's cry was different. It cut through all the hatred and fear that the war had built inside him. He moved faster, pulling away sheets of metal. His hands worked quickly, carefully. The crying grew louder. Then he saw her. A woman lay trapped beneath a support beam. Her skin was pale blue, almost white. Her hair was silver and moved slightly, as if touched by wind that wasn't there. Blood pooled beneath her, but it wasn't red. It was violet, dark as crushed flowers. She was Kalth, the enemy. Next to her, wrapped in strange fabric that shimmered like water, was the baby. The infant's skin was the same pale blue. Its hair was silver threads, so fine they seemed to glow. The baby's eyes were large and dark, and tears ran down its small face as it cried. The woman's eyes opened. They were violet, like her blood. She looked at Tae-Yang, and he saw fear in those alien eyes. But behind the fear was something else. Hope. Desperate, dying hope. She spoke. The words sounded like chimes, like music played on glass instruments. He couldn't understand her, but he understood the way she looked at the baby. That look was universal. It said, please. It said, save my child. Tae-Yang's radio crackled. Corporal Kim, report. Any contacts? It was his squad leader, Sergeant Choi. He looked at the woman. He looked at the baby. His orders were clear. Report all Kalth survivors for capture or elimination. The Kalth were the enemy. They had attacked Earth's colonies. They had killed millions. He had friends who died fighting them. But the baby kept crying. He pressed his radio. Negative, no contacts, just wreckage. The lie came easily. Too easily. He released the radio button and knelt beside the woman. She flinched, trying to shield the baby with her broken body. He held up his hands, showing he meant no harm. I'm a medic, he said slowly, even though she probably couldn't understand. I help people. I'll help you. He opened his medical bag and began working. The beam had crushed her legs. Internal bleeding, definitely. He had supplies meant for humans, but blood was blood. He injected clotting agents near the wounds. He set up an IV line, hoping Kalth biology was similar enough to human that the fluids would help. The woman watched him with wide eyes. Confusion mixed with her fear. Why would a human help her? The baby's crying began to soften. The infant seemed exhausted, its small chest heaving with each breath. Tae-Yang reached over and picked up the child carefully. The baby was warm, warmer than a human child. It weighed almost nothing. He held the baby against his chest. Without thinking, he began to rock gently, the way he had seen his sister do with her children back on Earth. The baby's crying quieted to small hiccups. Those large, dark eyes looked up at him with innocent curiosity. His radio crackled again. All units be advised. Human forces advancing from the north. Sweep the area and return to base. We're pulling out in 2 hours. 2 hours. He looked at the woman. She wouldn't survive transport to a Kalth facility. She needed surgery, rest, time. The baby needed food and care. If he left them here, other soldiers would find them. And those soldiers might not be medics. They might not care about a crying baby. He made his decision. There was an old medical bunker half a kilometer away. He had passed it on his patrol. It was damaged but intact enough to provide shelter. He could hide them there. He worked quickly. He stabilized the woman as best he could, using pain medication that he hoped would work on Kolth biology. She drifted in and out of consciousness. When she was awake, her eyes followed him, still confused, still afraid. He found a maintenance cart in the wreckage. It had wheels that still worked. Carefully, painfully, he moved the woman onto the cart. She groaned, a sound that was almost human. The baby, wrapped in its shimmering cloth, he placed on her chest. Her arms moved weakly to hold the child. The journey to the bunker took 40 minutes. He pulled the cart through rubble and debris, always watching for other soldiers. His heart pounded every time he heard voices in the distance. He was committing treason. If they caught him, they would execute him. But the baby had stopped crying. It looked at him with trust. The bunker was cold and dark. Emergency lights flickered, giving everything a green glow. He found a room that had once been a surgery. The equipment was old but functional. He moved the woman onto an examination table and began proper treatment. He cleaned her wounds. He set up monitors, adjusting them to read her alien biology as best he could. He checked her vital signs, learning as he went. Her heartbeat was faster than a human's, her breathing shallower. But she was stable, for now. The baby began to fuss again. Hungry, probably. He had no idea what Kolth infants ate. He searched the shuttle wreckage he had brought with them and found containers of thick liquid. It smelled sweet, like honey mixed with flowers. He hoped it was baby food. He found a small cup and poured some liquid into it. The baby drank eagerly, making small sounds of contentment. Tae-Yang sat on the floor of the bunker, feeding an alien child while its mother lay unconscious nearby. Outside, he could hear the distant sounds of his unit moving through the ruins. They were looking for him. He had maybe an hour before they noticed he was missing. The woman's eyes opened again. She looked at him, feeding her baby. A single violet tear ran down her pale cheek. She whispered something in her chiming language. Tae-Yang didn't understand the words, but he understood what she meant. "Thank you." He nodded and continued feeding the baby. He had crossed a line today. He had chosen compassion over duty. He had chosen life over war. He had no idea that this choice would change everything. 3 days passed in the bunker. Tae-Yang moved between his regular duties and his secret. He returned to his unit each night, pretending everything was normal. Then before dawn, he would sneak away with supplies, food, medicine, water. Anything that might help keep the Kolth woman and her baby alive. The woman's condition improved slowly. Her wounds began healing faster than human wounds would. Kolth biology was different in interesting ways. Her body temperature ran hotter. Her blood clotted quickly once the initial damage was treated. But she was still weak, still in pain. The baby thrived. The infant drank the sweet liquid from the containers and seemed to grow stronger each day. Tae-Yang found himself looking forward to seeing the child. Those innocent eyes held no hatred, no concept of war, just curiosity and trust. On the third night, everything changed. Tae-Yang was feeding the baby when he heard footsteps outside the bunker. He froze. His hand moved to his sidearm. The door opened, and Sergeant Bo-Ra Choi stood there, her weapon raised. Bo-Ra was his squad leader and his friend. They had trained together, fought together. He trusted her with his life, but now she was staring at him holding an alien baby, and her face showed only shock and anger. "What have you done?" she whispered. Tae-Yang stood slowly, still holding the baby. "Bo-Ra, I can explain." "Explain?" Her voice rose. "You're hiding the enemy. You lied to command. Do you understand what this means? They'll execute you for this." The woman on the examination table stirred. Her violet eyes opened and fixed on Bo-Ra. Fear crossed her face again. She tried to sit up, to reach for her baby, but she was too weak. "Please," Tae-Yang said. "Just listen." Listen to what? To treason? Bo-Ra's hands shook as she held her weapon. "I followed you. I knew something was wrong. You've been disappearing, taking supplies. I thought maybe you were selling them on the black market, and I was going to cover for you. But this I can't ignore." The baby began to cry, sensing the tension. Tae-Yang rocked the child gently, and the crying softened. Bo-Ra watched, and something in her expression shifted. "She was dying," Tae-Yang said quietly. "The baby was crying. I'm a medic, Bo-Ra. I took an oath to help people, not just humans. People. They're not people. They're Kolth. They killed millions of us. And we've killed millions of them. When does it end?" He looked down at the baby. "This child never hurt anyone. This woman was in a crashed diplomatic shuttle. She wasn't armed. She wasn't fighting. She was just trying to survive." Bo-Ra lowered her weapon slightly. She stepped closer, looking at the woman on the table. The Kolth woman looked back, her alien features showing clear intelligence and emotion. "You don't understand," Bo-Ra said. "Command is looking for a high-value target. A Kolth royal who disappeared 3 weeks ago. If this is her, if you're hiding royalty, they'll tear this planet apart to find her." Tae-Yang's blood ran cold. "Royal!" The woman spoke then. Her voice was weak but clear, still sounding like chimes. She reached for something around her neck. A damaged piece of technology hung there on a chain. She touched it. And suddenly words came from it, broken, glitching words in human language. "Princess Hara of the House of Eternal Light." Bo-Ra's eyes widened. "You're hiding the Kolth princess? Are you insane?" "I didn't know," Tae-Yang said. "But it doesn't change anything. She needs help. The baby needs help." The translator glitched again. More words came, broken and strange. "Not enemy. Flee. Brother. Prince Vekan. Starts war. On purpose. I have proof. Must reach. Neutral space." Both humans stared at her. The translator sparked and went silent. "Did she just say what I think she said?" Bo-Ra asked. Tae-Yang nodded slowly. "She said the war is a lie, that someone in the Kolth leadership wants it to continue." Bo-Ra holstered her weapon. She ran her hands through her short hair, a gesture she made when she was thinking hard. "This is bigger than us. If what she's saying is true, if there's proof that the Kolth leadership is corrupt, this could end the war. Or it could get us killed for believing her," Tae-Yang said. "You already risked your life for her." Bo-Ra looked at him. "Why?" He looked down at the baby in his arms. "Because she cried. Because I could help. Because if we stop seeing them as people, we become monsters too." Bo-Ra was quiet for a long moment. Then she sighed. "You're going to get me killed. Does that mean you'll help?" "It means I won't turn you in. Yet. I need time to think." She looked at the princess. "I need to verify what she's saying. If she's lying, if this is some trick, I'll report both of you myself." Princess Hera spoke again, her natural chiming voice soft. She pointed at the baby, then at Tae-Yang. The translator was dead, but her meaning was clear. She was entrusting her child to him. Tae-Yang learned the baby's name that night. Through gestures and broken words, the princess taught him to say it. Nabi. It meant butterfly in an old Earth language that somehow sounded similar to Kolth words. The princess had learned about Earth, had studied human culture. That's how she knew to flee with proof of corruption. Over the next 2 days, Bo-Ra returned several times. She brought better supplies. She also brought questions. Through patient effort, they repaired the translator enough to have real conversations. Princess Hara told them her story. She had been married to a reformer, a Kolth noble who wanted peace with humanity. He was assassinated by Prince Vekan, her own brother. Vekan wanted war because war gave him power. He had orchestrated attacks on both sides, making peace impossible. She had evidence, data files hidden in her shuttle, recordings of Vekan admitting to false flag operations, orders to kill peace negotiators. Everything needed to prove the conspiracy. "Why should we believe you?" Bo-Ra asked directly. Hara looked at her with those violet eyes. "Because I gave my child to your friend. Would I do that if I wanted to harm you?" It was a good point. Trust was built slowly, but it was being built. On the 5th day, Bo-Ra came to the bunker with news. "Lieutenant Wu Jin wants to see you. He knows something is wrong. I think he's figured it out." Tae-Yang's heart sank. Lieutenant Wu Jin Park was their commanding officer. He was a good man, but a strict soldier. If he knew the truth, he would follow regulations. "I'll go to him," Tae-Yang said. "No," Bo-Ra said. "I told him to come here. If we're doing this, we're doing it right. He needs to see what you've been protecting. He needs to hear her story." That night, Lieutenant Wu Jin entered the bunker. He was a tall man with gray in his hair and tired eyes. He had been fighting this war for 5 years. He looked at the princess, at the baby in Tae-Yang's arms, and his hand moved to his weapon. Then baby Nabi laughed, a small, innocent sound. She reached out toward Wu Jin with tiny hands. The lieutenant stopped. He stared at the baby. His weapon stayed holstered. "Sir," Tae-Yang began. Wu Jin held up a hand. "I have 3 children back on Earth, 2 daughters and a son. I haven't seen them in 2 years. He stepped closer, looking at Nabi. "This baby looks at you like you're her father." "She's innocent, sir. They both are." Wu Jin listened as they explained everything. He read the data files that Hara had saved. He watched the recordings of Prince Vekan's crimes. His face grew darker with each piece of evidence. Finally, he spoke. "This changes everything. If this is real, if we can get her to neutral space, we could end this war." "You believe her?" Bo-Ra asked. "I believe that baby never hurt anyone. I believe no child deserves to die for political games." He looked at Tae-Yang. "You did the right thing, Corporal. Now we need to finish what you started." And so the plan began. They would smuggle Princess Hara and baby Nabi to neutral space. It was impossible. It was dangerous. It was treason against everything they had sworn to protect. But it was also right. Planning an impossible mission took 3 days. Lieutenant Wu Jin proved why he had survived 5 years of war. He was careful, thorough, and smart. He brought in one more person they could trust. Private Dae-Hyun Lee, their tech specialist. Dae-Hyun was young, barely 20, but he was brilliant with computers. When he first saw Princess Hara and baby Nabi, he didn't draw his weapon. He just stared with wide eyes and said, "Wow, okay, this is happening." He took to the mission with enthusiasm. "I've always thought this war was stupid," he admitted. "We're fighting over territory that neither species really needs. It never made sense." Princess Hara's translator worked better now. Dae-Hyun had repaired it using parts from their own equipment. She could speak in full sentences, though her words still had a musical quality that the translator couldn't quite remove. She taught them things about Kalth culture, simple things that could save their lives, how Kalth soldiers greeted each other, what colors meant danger in their society, how to show respect to different ranks in their military. "You must understand," she said one evening. "My people are not monsters. We have families. We love our children. We create art and music. We are not so different from you." "Then why are we fighting?" Bo-Ra asked. "Because people like my brother gain power from fear. He tells my people that humans are cruel and violent, that you will destroy us if we show weakness. And your leaders say the same about us." Both sides believe they're defending themselves, Wu Jin said quietly. That's how war works. Taeyang sat with Nabi on his lap. The baby had grown attached to him. She would cry when he left and laugh when he returned. It broke his heart every time because he knew this couldn't last forever. Eventually, Hara would take her daughter home. He would never see her again. But for now, she was happy. She played with his fingers and made small cooing sounds. Sometimes she would try to repeat words he said, her baby voice mixing human sounds with Koth chimes. The plan was complex. They needed to travel 200 kilometers across contested territory to reach the neutral zone. The neutral zone was controlled by the Collective, a group of peaceful alien species who refused to take sides in the war. If they could reach it, Hara would have diplomatic protection. But the journey was dangerous. Both human and Koth forces patrolled the area. They would have to move at night, avoiding detection from both sides. One mistake would mean death or capture. Dae-hyun created false movement orders in the military database. According to official records, their small team was being sent on a reconnaissance mission. It would buy them time before anyone realized they were gone. They gathered supplies, medical equipment for Hara, who was still recovering. Food that both humans and Koth could eat. They discovered that Nabi could digest human food, which made things easier. She loved the nutrient paste from military rations, which surprised everyone. Your daughter has unusual tastes, Taeyang told Hara. She smiled. It was the first time he had seen her smile. Her face transformed, becoming warm and gentle. She is strong. She will need to be strong for what comes. What will happen when you reach the Collective? Bo-Ra asked. I will present my evidence. The Collective will verify it and broadcast it to all civilized worlds. The truth will be known. Hara's expression darkened. My brother will deny it. He will call me a traitor. But enough noble houses will believe me. There will be a civil war in my empire. It will be painful, but it is necessary. And Nabi? Taeyang asked quietly. She is the legitimate heir to the throne. My husband was the crown prince before his assassination. Nabi has a stronger claim than Vaikun. If I die, she becomes a symbol. If I live, she becomes hope for a better future. The weight of it all settled on them. They weren't just smuggling refugees. They were carrying the future of an entire empire. The night before they left, Wu Jin called them together. I want you all to understand what we're doing. This is treason. If we're caught, we'll be executed. Our families might face consequences. Our names will be marked as traitors forever. But if we succeed, Dae-hyun asked, if we succeed, we might end a war that has killed millions. We might save billions more from dying. Wu Jin looked at each of them. I can't order you to do this. This has to be your choice. Taeyang spoke first. I made my choice when I heard a baby crying. I'm not changing it now. Bo-Ra nodded. I'm with you. Dae-hyun grinned. This is the most important thing I'll ever do. Count me in. Hara stood, still weak but determined. I thank you, all of you. You are showing me that humanity is everything my brother said you were not. You are kind. You are brave. You are honorable. They left at midnight. Wu Jin drove a military transport vehicle. Taeyang sat in the back with Hara and Nabi. Bo-Ra manned the gun turret, though she hoped they wouldn't need it. Dae-hyun monitored communications, ready to jam any signals that might give them away. The first 50 kilometers were easy. They followed legitimate patrol routes, and their false orders held up. Other soldiers they passed waved them through checkpoints without question. Then they entered the devastated zone. This area had been the site of major battles. Cities were reduced to rubble. Forests were burned to ash. The land itself looked wounded, broken beyond recognition. It was a place where both sides had committed atrocities. They found refugees hiding in the ruins. Human refugees, scared and starving. Wu Jin wanted to stop and help them, but they couldn't risk the time. He radioed their position to a rescue team instead, hoping someone would come. Then they found Kolth refugees, a group of civilians, mostly elderly and children, hiding in the basement of a collapsed building. They had been there for weeks, surviving on rainwater and whatever they could scavenge. Hara saw them and immediately wanted to help. "We must take them with us." "We can't," Wu Jin said. "We barely have room and supplies for us." "They will die here." Hera's voice was firm. "I will not leave my people to die." They argued. Time was wasting. Every minute they stayed increased their risk. But Hara refused to abandon the refugees, and Tae-yang found himself agreeing with her. "If we leave them, we're no better than the people who started this war," he said. Wu Jin cursed, then nodded. "Load them up. We'll figure it out." They crammed 15 Kolth civilians into the transport. The elderly ones were weak from hunger. The children were terrified, crying in their chiming voices. But when they saw Princess Hara, they recognized her. Hope lit their faces. One old Kolth woman touched Hera's hand and spoke in their language. The translator rendered it. "The rightful heir. You live. Hope survives." They traveled on, moving slower now with the extra weight. The refugees shared their limited food with the Kolth civilians. Nabi was passed around, and the Kolth children played with her gently, making her laugh. In the cramped transport, humans and Kolth shared space without fear for the first time. Dae-hyun intercepted a transmission. "We've got a problem." Hunter-killer squad moving in our direction, led by Captain Myung-soo Han. Wu Jin's face went pale. "Han? The butcher?" "You know him?" Bo-Ra asked. "He lost his entire family to a Kolth raid. He doesn't take prisoners. He doesn't believe in mercy." Wu Jin checked their position. "If he finds us with Kolth civilians, he'll kill everyone and call it justice." They drove faster, but the terrain was rough. The transport wasn't made for speed. Behind them, they could hear engines. The hunter-killer squad was gaining. Hara held Nabi close. The baby sensed her mother's fear and began to cry. Tae-yang took the child, and she quieted against his chest. But his heart was pounding. They had come so far. They couldn't fail now. "Contact in 5 minutes," Dae-hyun reported. Wu Jin made a decision. "Hang on!" He turned the transport sharply, driving into a narrow canyon. The walls rose high on either side, blocking sight lines. It was a risk. If the canyon dead-ended, they would be trapped. Behind them, they heard gunfire. The hunter-killers had seen them turn. They were being pursued. The canyon twisted and turned. Then ahead, they saw it. An old bridge crossing a ravine. It looked unstable, damaged by years of war. "That won't hold our weight," Bo-Ra said. "It has to." Wu Jin pushed the accelerator. They raced toward the bridge as gunfire echoed behind them. This was going to be close. The transport roared onto the bridge. Metal groaned under their weight. Tae-yang held Nabi tight as the vehicle bounced over broken sections. Behind them, the hunter-killer squad's vehicles appeared at the canyon entrance. "They're coming!" Dae-hyun shouted. Wu Jin pushed harder. The bridge shook. Metal cables snapped with sounds like gunshots. They were halfway across when the first enemy vehicle started onto the bridge. Then they were across. Wu Jin spun the wheel, taking them into a tunnel on the far side. Behind them, they heard an enormous crash. Tae-yang looked back and saw the bridge collapsing, taking the lead hunter-killer vehicle with it. But Captain Myung-soo Han's voice came over the radio, filled with rage. "Traitors! You're protecting the enemy! I'll hunt you to the ends of the world!" They had escaped, but they had made a powerful enemy. The tunnel led them into an old, underground highway system. These passages had been built before the war, connecting cities that no longer existed. Wu Jin drove in darkness, using only minimal lights to avoid detection. The Kolth refugees were quiet, traumatized by the chase. The children huddled together. The elderly ones prayed in their chiming language. Hara held Nabi and spoke softly to her people, trying to comfort them. "Thank you," she said to the humans. "You risked everything for people you don't even know." "That's what we do," Tai Yang said simply. "That's what makes us human." They emerged from the tunnels at dawn. The landscape here was different, less destroyed. There were even trees, damaged but alive. Nature was beginning to heal. They stopped to rest. The refugees needed food and water. Nabi needed to be fed and changed. Everyone needed to breathe air that didn't smell like smoke and death. Tai Yang walked with Nabi in his arms. The baby was learning to stand with help. She held his fingers and took wobbly steps, laughing each time she didn't fall. It was such a normal, beautiful moment in the middle of their dangerous journey. Hara watched them. When Tai Yang brought Nabi back, the princess spoke quietly. "She loves you. You know this?" "I love her too," Tai Yang admitted. "I know I shouldn't. I know she's not mine, but I can't help it. You saved her life. In Kalth culture, that creates a bond. You are her guardian now, no matter what happens." The words touched something deep in Tai Yang's heart. Guardian. Not father, but something just as important. Dai Hyun approached with troubling news. "I've been monitoring broadcasts. The story is getting out. Someone leaked information about a human squad protecting Kalth refugees. Both sides are looking for us now." "Both sides?" Bo-Ra asked. "Earth Command wants us for treason. The Kalth Empire wants the princess and the refugees. We're enemies to everyone." But Dae Hyun was smiling. "There's other news too. The data files that Hara brought. I've been analyzing them. They're real. The evidence is solid. Prince Vaken really did orchestrate attacks on his own people to keep the war going." "Can you send it out?" Wu Jin asked. "I could. But if I do it now, we lose our advantage. Better to wait until we reach the collective. They have the authority and reach to make sure everyone sees it." They continued their journey. 150 kilometers left. They traveled through areas where fighting had been recent. They saw destroyed tanks from both sides. They passed through a village where human and Kalth bodies lay together in death, neither side having won anything. On the second day of travel, they encountered a Kalth patrol. It happened suddenly. They crested a hill and found themselves face to face with Kalth soldiers, 20 of them, armed and ready. The patrol leader was Commander Sulven, known for his tactical brilliance and ruthless efficiency. Both sides froze. Weapons were raised. For a long moment, no one moved. Then Hara stepped out of the transport. She was still weak, but she stood tall and proud. She spoke in the Kalth language, her voice carrying authority. Sulven's eyes widened. He recognized her. His soldiers began to kneel, a sign of respect for royalty, but Sulven himself stayed standing, his weapon still raised. "Princess Hara," he said through his translator, "you are wanted for treason. Prince Vaken has declared you an enemy of the Empire." "My brother is the traitor," Hara replied, "and I have proof. I have my orders. Orders from a false ruler who murdered my husband and tried to murder me." Hara's voice was steel. "I know you, Sulven. You served my father. You are an honorable soldier. Will you follow a tyrant who kills his own family for power?" Sulven hesitated. His soldiers looked uncertain. Behind Hara, the human team kept their weapons ready, but they didn't fire. Tai Yang held Nabi, the baby visible to all the Kalth soldiers. One of Sulven's soldiers spoke. "Commander, is that the princess's daughter, the heir?" "It is," Hara said. "Nabi, the only legitimate claim to the throne. My brother wants her dead because she threatens his power." The Kalth soldiers began to murmur among themselves. They looked at the baby, at their princess, at the human soldiers who were protecting them both. Sulven lowered his weapon slowly. "Show me this proof." For the next hour, they shared the evidence. Dae-hyun displayed the data files, the recordings, the documentation of Vaken's crimes. Sul-ven watched it all, his expression growing darker. Finally, he spoke. I have suspected something was wrong. Orders that made no sense, attacks that served no strategic purpose, my own men dying for battles that achieved nothing. He looked at Hara. If this is true, I have been serving a monster. It is true, Hara said gently, and I need your help. Sul-ven was quiet for a long time. Then he made his decision. My squad will escort you to the neutral zone, but first, I must contact the fleet. There are others who have doubts. Others who will believe this evidence. That's a risk, Wu Jin said. Communications can be intercepted. I know, but if we're going to change the Empire, we need more than one squad. Sul-ven looked at his soldiers. What do you say? Do we follow a prince who lies, or a princess who seeks truth? The soldiers answered by holstering their weapons. They had made their choice. That night, they camped together. Human and Kolth soldiers shared food and stories. The barrier of hatred began to crack. They learned they had more in common than they thought. Both sides had families. Both sides wanted peace. Both sides were tired of war. Tae-yang sat with a young Kolth soldier named Rin. She was barely older than Dae-hyun, and she had joined the military to protect her village. She showed him pictures of her family on a datapad. They looked happy, normal, just people living their lives. I never wanted to fight humans, Rin said through her translator. I just wanted to keep my family safe. Same, Tae-yang replied. We're not so different. Rin watched him with Nabi. You care for the air like she is your own. She's just a baby. She deserves to grow up in a world without war. Yes, Rin agreed. Yes, she does. Sul-ven made his communications that night. His messages went out to trusted commanders in the Kolth fleet. He shared the evidence, shared what he had witnessed. By morning, responses began coming back. 3 ships have declared for Princess Hera, he reported. 2 more are considering. It's not much, but it's a start. It's hope, Hera said. That's what matters. They traveled together now, a mixed convoy of human and Kolth forces. It was strange, surreal even. Days ago, they would have been trying to kill each other. Now they were allies, united by a common cause. But their troubles weren't over. Captain Myung-soo Han had found another route around the collapsed bridge. His hunter-killer squad was closing in from the west, and from the east, loyal Kolth forces under Prince Vaken's direct command were converging on their position. They were being hunted by both sides. The neutral zone was still 70 kilometers away. They had to move faster, but the refugees and Hara's condition slowed them down. Wu Jin gathered the senior personnel. Sul-ven, Bo-ra, Tae-yang, and Dae-hyun. They looked at maps and calculated odds. We can't outrun both forces, Wu Jin said. We need a different strategy. A diversion, Sul-ven suggested. Draw the pursuers away from the main group. That's a suicide mission, Bo-ra said. Perhaps, but necessary. Wu Jin looked at each of them. I'll lead it. Take half our forces and lead both enemies on a chase. Buy time for the princess to reach safety. Sir, no, Tae-yang protested. Wu Jin smiled sadly. I told you I have 3 children. I want them to grow up in a world where humans and Kolth aren't enemies. If my sacrifice helps create that world, it's worth it. Hara spoke, her voice thick with emotion. You would die for my people? I'm dying for all our people, Wu Jin corrected. Human, Kolth, everyone who's tired of this war. Plans were made. Wu Jin would take 10 soldiers, 5 human and 5 Kolth, including Sul-ven's best warriors. They would make noise, draw attention, and lead the enemy forces on a wild chase away from the main group. Tae-yang, Bo-ra, and Dae-hyun would escort Princess Hara, baby Nabi, and the refugees on the final push to the neutral zone. It was a slim chance, but it was their only chance. Before they separated, Wu Jin pulled Tae Yang aside. Take care of them. The princess, the baby, all of them. You started this by being compassionate. Now finish it. I will, sir. And Tae Yang? What you did saving that baby. That's the best thing any of us has done in this whole damn war. Don't ever doubt that. They parted ways at dawn. Wu Jin's diversion team headed west, making plenty of noise. Within an hour, they had attracted the attention of both enemy forces. The chase was on. Tai Yang's group moved quietly east, toward safety, toward hope, toward the neutral zone. Nabi slept peacefully in his arms, unaware that brave people were dying to give her a future. They heard the battle in the distance, explosions, gunfire, the sounds of brave people fighting impossible odds. Tai Yang wanted to turn back to help Wu Jin and the others, but his mission was clear: protect the princess, protect Nabi, reach the neutral zone. Bo-Ra drove now. Da-Hyun monitored communications, listening to encrypted channels. The news wasn't good. Wu Jin's diversion was working, but the cost was high. They were taking casualties. He's broadcasting the evidence, Da-Hyun said suddenly. Wu Jin is sending everything out on all frequencies. The whole galaxy is hearing it right now. They listened to Wu Jin's voice over the radio. He was speaking clearly, calmly, even as weapons fire echoed behind him. This is Lieutenant Wu Jin Park of Earth's military. I am transmitting evidence of war crimes committed by Prince Vekon of the Kalth Empire. These attacks were designed to prolong the war for personal gain. Both human and Kalth lives have been sacrificed for one man's ambition. We demand peace. We demand justice. Then Sulven's voice joined him. This is Commander Sulven of the Imperial Fleet. I confirm the authenticity of this evidence. I pledge my loyalty to Princess Hara, the rightful heir. All honorable Kalth soldiers stand down. Stop fighting this false war. The transmissions went out again and again. Da-Hyun amplified them, bouncing the signal off satellites and relay stations. Within minutes, the evidence was spreading across human and Kalth networks. Millions of people were seeing the truth. But the battle continued. Wu Jin and his team were still fighting, still dying, to buy them time. Tai Yang held Nabi close. The baby sensed his distress and patted his face with tiny hands. "Papa sad?" she asked in her broken mix of human and Kalth words. "Yeah, little one. Papa is sad, but we're going to make things better. I promise." They pushed forward. The terrain became difficult. They had to abandon the transport and continue on foot through dense forest. Hara was struggling. Her injuries hadn't fully healed, and the stress of the journey was taking its toll. "I can't," she gasped, leaning against a tree. "I need to rest." "We don't have time," Bo-Ra said, though her voice was gentle. "Then leave me. Take Nabi and go." "Not happening," Tae Yang said firmly. He handed Nabi to one of the Kalth refugees, an elderly woman who held the baby like precious treasure. Then he moved to Hara's side. "I didn't save you to let you die now. Come on." He supported her weight, helping her walk. Bo-Ra took point, her weapon ready. The refugees followed, quiet and determined. They could hear pursuit behind them now. The diversion had bought them time, but not enough. They reached a river. It was wide and fast, fed by mountain runoff. There was no bridge, no easy crossing. They would have to wade through, and the water looked deep. "The refugees and children can't make it across that," Da-Hyun said. "They have to." Bo-Ra studied the current. "We rope ourselves together, move as one group. If anyone falls, the others hold them." They used equipment straps to create a makeshift rope. Human and Kalth linked together, the strong helping the weak. Tai Yang carried Nabi on his chest in a sling made from his jacket. The baby thought it was a game, laughing as they entered the water. The current was brutal. The water was ice cold. Halfway across, one of the elderly Kalth men lost his footing. He would have been swept away, but a human soldier grabbed him and held tight until they found stable ground. They made it across, soaked and exhausted, but alive. Behind them, they could hear their pursuers reaching the river. They had minutes, maybe less. "Run!" Bo-Ra ordered. They ran through the forest, lungs burning, legs aching. Nabi cried from the jostling, but Tae-Yang couldn't slow down. Not now, not when they were so close. Hera stumbled and fell. She tried to get up, but couldn't. Her body had reached its limit. "Leave me," she whispered. "Please, save my daughter." Tae-Yang didn't hesitate. He scooped her up, carrying her despite his own exhaustion. She was lighter than she should be, weakened by injury and stress. "We don't leave people behind. That's what makes us different." Bo-Ra's voice came urgent. "Contact ahead! Unknown forces!" They burst into a clearing and found themselves surrounded. But these weren't human or Kalth soldiers. These were members of the collective. Tall, elegant beings with 4 arms and peaceful faces. They wore white armor marked with symbols of neutrality. "Please," Tae-Yang gasped. "We need asylum. We have Princess Hara of the Kalth Empire. We have evidence of war crimes. We need protection." The collective commander stepped forward. Its translator spoke in perfect human language. "We have been monitoring your transmissions. We grant you emergency asylum. You are under the protection of the collective now." Behind them, Captain Myung-Soo Han and his hunter-killer squad broke through the trees. They saw the collective forces and skidded to a halt. Myung-Soo's face was twisted with rage. "Those are traitors! They're protecting the enemy! Hand them over!" The collective commander placed itself between the two groups. "They have claimed asylum. Under collective law, they are protected. You will not harm them." "They chose aliens over their own people," Myung-Soo shouted. He raised his weapon, pointing it at Tae-Yang and Nabi. What happened next happened fast. Bo-Ra moved to intercept. Collective peacekeepers activated defensive shields. And from the forest, Kalth forces loyal to Prince Vaken emerged, their weapons trained on everyone. It was a standoff. 3 different forces, all armed, all ready to fight. In the center stood Tae-Yang, holding a baby who had no idea she was the focus of all this hatred and fear. "Enough!" Hara's voice rang out. She had found strength from somewhere deep inside. She stood, though she swayed with exhaustion. "Enough death! Enough war! I am Princess Hara, daughter of Emperor Thelvan, mother of Nabi, the legitimate heir to the Kalth throne. I demand peace." She activated her repaired translator and set it to broadcast mode. Her next words went out to every ship, every station, every device within range. "I stand here with humans who saved my life and my daughter's life. They owed me nothing. They risked everything. They showed me that your species is not the enemy we were told you are. You are kind. You are brave. You are capable of great compassion." She turned to the Kalth forces. "And I stand with Kalth refugees who were protected by these same humans. Our people are not the monsters Earth's propaganda claims. We are families. We are artists and scientists and farmers. We are worthy of peace." Tae-Yang watched as her words sank in. He saw Myung-Soo's weapon waver. He saw the Kalth soldiers looking uncertain. "My brother, Prince Vaken, created this war for power," Hara continued. "The evidence has been broadcast. You all know the truth now. The question is, what will you do with that truth? Will you keep fighting a false war? Or will you choose peace?" Silence fell over the clearing. Nabi chose that moment to laugh. The baby reached toward Myung-Soo, seeing another person to smile at. The sound of her innocent joy cut through the tension. Myung-Soo stared at the baby, this Kalth child who smiled at him without fear or hatred. His weapon lowered slowly. "My family," he said, his voice breaking. "They were killed by Kalth soldiers following Vaken's false orders. They died for a lie." "Yes," Hera said gently. "And I am sorry. I cannot bring them back. But I can promise you that their deaths will mean something. Help me end this war. Help me make sure no other families suffer as yours did." The Kolth commander stepped forward. "I am Commander Kelvar. I serve Prince Vakan. But I heard the transmissions. I saw the evidence." He looked at his soldiers. "We have been used, manipulated, made to kill good people for a tyrant's gain." He removed his helmet, a gesture of respect in Kolth culture. "Princess Hara, I pledge my forces to you. Vakan is not fit to lead." One by one, his soldiers followed suit. They knelt, showing their loyalty to the rightful heir. Myung-Soo stood alone now, his hunter-killer squad waiting for his orders. He looked at Tai Yang, at the baby, at Princess Hara. "I wanted revenge," he admitted. "I wanted all Kolth to pay for what was done to my family." "Revenge won't bring them back," Tai Yang said quietly. "But peace might save other families." Myung-Soo lowered his weapon completely. He didn't kneel, he didn't pledge loyalty, but he didn't fight either. "I need time," he said. "Time to process all this." "That's fair," Hera said. "Take all the time you need." The collective commander gestured toward their base. "Come, all of you. We will provide medical care, food, and rest. The collective council wishes to hear your full testimony, Princess Hera. The galaxy will see the truth." They moved toward safety. Taeyang's legs almost gave out now that the immediate danger had passed. Bora caught his arm, supporting him. "You did it," she said. "You actually did it." Dae-Yun was monitoring his equipment. "The transmissions are everywhere. Human and Kolth networks are exploding with the news. There are protests on Earth demanding peace. Ships in the Kolth fleet are refusing orders. It's working. It's actually working." Inside Haven Point, the collective's neutral station, they were treated like honored guests. Medical staff tended to their wounds. They were given food and clean clothing. The refugees were cared for, their needs met without question. Tai Yang sat in a clean room, holding Nabi while she slept. She was exhausted from the journey. He was too, but he couldn't sleep yet. Too much adrenaline still coursed through his system. Hara entered the room. She moved slowly, still recovering, but her eyes were bright. "The collective has verified all the evidence. They're broadcasting it with their authority behind it. No one can deny the truth now." "What happens next?" Taeyang asked. "Tomorrow I address the collective council. They will present my case to all member species. The pressure on both Earth and the Kolth Empire to negotiate peace will be enormous." "And Vakan?" "He will fight to maintain power. There will be conflict in my empire. But now I have allies. Ships are defecting to my side. Noble houses are declaring for me." She sat beside him, looking at her sleeping daughter. "This is just the beginning." "Will it work?" he asked. "Will we really get peace?" "I don't know," she admitted. "But we have a chance. That's more than we had before." She touched Nabi's silver hair gently. "You saved her. You saved me. You changed everything. I just helped a baby who was crying." "Yes. And that simple act of compassion started a revolution." Hara looked at him with those violet eyes. "Thank you, Tai Yang, for everything." Outside, in the void of space, two fleets faced each other, one loyal to Earth Command, one loyal to what remained of Prince Vakan's forces. But for the first time in years, neither side fired. They were waiting, watching, hoping for something different than endless war. And in a small room in Haven Point, a human soldier held an alien baby and dared to believe that maybe, just maybe, they had changed the galaxy for the better. 3 months passed. 3 months that changed the galaxy. Princess Hara's testimony before the collective council was broadcast across every civilized world. She spoke for 6 hours, presenting evidence, answering questions, and telling her story. The galaxy listened, and the galaxy believed. On Earth, public opinion shifted dramatically. People saw the footage of Tai Yang protecting a baby. They saw human soldiers defending Kolth refugees. They saw the evidence of Vakan's crimes. Protests erupted in every major city demanding peace negotiations. Politicians who supported continuing the war found themselves losing support. Earth Command had no choice. They officially pardoned Tai Yang and his team. They called them heroes instead of traitors. But the praise felt hollow to Tai Yang. Good people had died to reach this point. Lieutenant Wu Jin, half of Sulven's original squad. Refugees who didn't make it to safety. The Kalth Empire fractured. Noble houses split between those who supported Prince Vacon and those who pledged loyalty to Princess Hara. Ships defected. Territories changed hands. It wasn't quite civil war, but it was close. Prince Vacon himself disappeared. Intelligence suggested he fled to the Outer Rim systems, taking loyalists with him. He was still dangerous, still had resources, but his grip on power was broken. Commander Sulven survived the diversionary battle, barely. He recovered in a collective hospital, then joined Hara's growing fleet as her chief military advisor. He brought with him 3 full battle groups of Kalth ships that refused to serve a false emperor. Peace negotiations began, real ones, for the first time in years. Earth and the Kalth Empire sent diplomats to Haven Point. The talks were difficult, painful, full of accusations and old grievances, but they talked. That was what mattered. Tai Yang watched it all from Haven Point. He had been awarded Earth's highest honor, the Solar Cross. They gave him medals, money, and fame. He donated the money to organizations helping war refugees. He avoided the media as much as possible. He wasn't comfortable with being called a hero. Bora stayed with him. She had also been decorated, promoted to lieutenant. She handled the political side of things, representing their team in meetings and conferences. She was good at it, diplomatic and smart. Daehyun became something of a celebrity. The young tech specialist who helped expose the conspiracy was interviewed constantly. He used his fame to advocate for peace and reconciliation. He was earnest and hopeful in a way that people found inspiring. Captain Myung-Soo Han disappeared for a while. He was given leave to process what had happened. When he returned, he did something unexpected. He requested assignment to a refugee camp. He spent his days helping Kalth families who had lost everything to the war. He never spoke publicly about his change of heart, but his actions spoke louder than words. And Nabi grew. The baby was thriving. She was learning to walk without help, to speak in both human and Kalth languages. She was bright and curious, exploring everything within reach. She still called Tai Yang Papa, though he gently tried to correct her to say his name instead. "She knows who her mother is," Hara said, "but you are her father in all ways that matter. Accept it." That was the hard part. The bittersweet reality. Nabi loved him, and he loved her. But she was a princess, heir to an empire. She couldn't stay with a human soldier forever. The collective council made their decision. They officially recognized Princess Hara as the legitimate ruler of the Kalth Empire. They called for Prince Vacon to stand trial for war crimes. They endorsed peace negotiations between Earth and the Kalth Empire. The turning point came in the 4th month. A joint human Kalth rescue mission responded to a distress call from a civilian transport caught in a radiation storm. Human and Kalth crews worked together, saving 300 lives from both species. The images of humans and Kalth celebrating together went viral. Public opinion solidified. People were tired of war. They wanted peace. They wanted a future where the next generation wouldn't have to fight. The Treaty of Haven Point was signed 6 months after Tai Yang first heard a baby crying in crashed shuttle. Earth and the Kalth Empire agreed to an immediate ceasefire. They established a demilitarized zone. They created joint committees to handle disputes. They agreed to exchange prisoners and provide aid to war-torn regions. It wasn't perfect peace. There were still hardliners on both sides who opposed it. There were still incidents and tensions. But for the first time in years, humans and Kalth weren't actively trying to kill each other. The day after the treaty signing, Hara called Tai Yang to her quarters. She had recovered fully from her injuries. She looked regal in formal Kalth attire, her silver hair arranged in intricate patterns, her violet eyes serious. "I must return to the homeworld," she said. "The Council of Noble Houses has confirmed me as Empress. I need to begin rebuilding my empire, healing the damage Vakon caused." Tai Yang had known this was coming. It still hurt. "When do you leave?" 3 days. "Sulven will escort me with the fleet." She paused. "I want you to come with me." He hadn't expected that. "What? Come with me? Be Nabi's guardian. Be my advisor. You understand humans better than any Kalth. You can help bridge the gap between our species. You can help ensure this peace lasts." "You're asking me to leave Earth? Leave humanity?" "I'm asking you to choose," Hara said gently. "Choose between your people and the child you love. It's not fair, I know. But nothing about this situation has been fair." Tai Yang looked at Nabi, playing with blocks in the corner of the room. She looked up and smiled at him, that bright, innocent smile that had changed everything. "I need time to think," he said. "Of course. Take what time you need." He walked the corridors of Haven Point, wrestling with his decision. Bora found him staring out a viewport at the stars. "She asked you to go with her," Bora said. It wasn't a question. "How did you know?" "Because it's obvious. You're the best choice. You have the trust of both sides. You love Nabi, and honestly, Tai Yang, you've never really belonged in the military. You're too compassionate to be a good soldier." "Is that an insult or a compliment?" "Both. Neither. Just the truth." She stood beside him. "What are you going to do?" "I don't know. If I go, I leave everything behind. My family, my friends, Earth. But if you stay, you leave Nabi behind, and that will destroy you." Bora put a hand on his shoulder. "There's no wrong choice here, just different paths." He thought about his sister back on Earth, his parents, the life he had before the war. Could he really give all that up? Then he thought about holding Nabi for the first time, her crying that had cut through all his training and conditioning, the trust in her eyes when she looked at him, the way she laughed when he sang her the Kalth lullaby. He made his decision. 2 days later, he gave a speech to the assembled dignitaries at Haven Point. Earth's president was there, the collective council, representatives from dozens of species, and the media from across the galaxy. "I was asked why I saved Princess Hera," he said, "why I risked everything for an enemy. The answer is simple. I heard a baby crying and I could help. That's what humanity is. We're at our best when we're at our most compassionate." He paused, looking at the crowd. "If we lose that, if we forget how to help someone in need regardless of who they are, then we deserve to lose. We become the monsters we claim to fight against." He spoke about the soldiers who died to make peace possible, about Wu Jin's sacrifice, about the refugees who survived against all odds, about the importance of seeing people as people, not as enemies. "War is easy," he concluded. "War is simple. You have sides, you have orders, you don't have to think. Peace is hard. Peace means understanding people who are different from you. Peace means choosing compassion over convenience, but peace is always worth it." The applause was thunderous. But Tai Yang wasn't finished. "I've been offered a position by Empress Hara. She's asked me to come to the Kalth homeworld as Nabi's guardian and as an advisor. I've decided to accept, but I'm not doing it to abandon humanity. I'm doing it to represent humanity at its best. I'm doing it to make sure this peace we've fought for actually lasts." He looked directly at Earth's president. "I request official appointment as Earth's first ambassador to the Kalth Empire. Let me be the bridge between our species. Let me show both sides that we can work together." Earth's president stood. She was an older woman, hard but fair. She had lost a son in the war. but she had also been the first to call for peace negotiations after seeing the evidence. "Ambassador Kim," she said formally, "on behalf of Earth and all human worlds, I accept your service. Represent us well." The room erupted again. Tae Yang felt Bo-Ra grab him in a tight hug. "You magnificent idiot," she whispered. "You found a way to have both." "I found a way to do what's right," he corrected. Dae-hyun joined them, grinning. "I'm coming with you. Earth needs a diplomatic staff, right? I speak some Koth now. I can help." Bo-Ra laughed. "Fine, I'm coming too. Someone needs to keep you both out of trouble, and I'm apparently really good at diplomacy now." In her quarters, Hara listened to the news with Nabi on her lap. The baby clapped her hands, not understanding but feeling the happiness around her. "He's coming with us, little one," Hara told her daughter. "Your papa is coming home." Nabi smiled that bright smile. "Papa coming," she said in perfect human language. The final ceremony took place the next day. Tae Yang, Bo-Ra, and Dae-hyun formally joined Earth's diplomatic corps. They were given new uniforms, not military but civilian. They represented peace now, not war. Sulven welcomed them aboard his flagship. The Koth commander had become a friend over the months. He showed them to their quarters, which were designed to accommodate human needs. "The Empress has prepared a place for you in the palace," Sulven said. "You will have full diplomatic status and protection, and you, Ambassador Kim, will have unlimited access to the air." "I'm just going to take care of her," Tae Yang said. "The rest is just official business." "You're going to do much more than that," Sulven replied. "You're going to change my empire from the inside, just as you changed this war." The fleet departed Haven Point. Earth ships escorted them to the border of Koth space, a symbolic gesture of cooperation. Then they continued alone, jumping through hyperspace toward the Koth homeworld. Tae Yang stood in the observation deck with Nabi in his arms. The child was getting heavy, growing fast. She wouldn't be a baby much longer. "Look," he said, pointing at the stars. "That's where we're going. Your home." "Our home," Nabi corrected. "Papa's home, too." His heart swelled. "Yeah, little one. Our home." Hara joined them. She stood beside Tae Yang, looking at the stars together. "Thank you," she said softly, "for everything. For saving us. For coming with us. For believing that peace is possible. Thank you for letting me be part of her life." They stood together in silence. A human and a Koth, watching the stars slip by. Behind them lay a war that had killed millions. Ahead lay an uncertain peace that would take years to solidify. But they had hope, and sometimes hope was enough. The Koth homeworld was beautiful. Tae Yang had expected something alien and uncomfortable, but instead he found a world of crystal cities and gardens that stretched to the horizon. The architecture was different from Earth's, more organic, as if the buildings had grown rather than been built. Waterways flowed through everything, reflecting light in rainbow patterns. The palace stood at the heart of the capital city. It was enormous, carved from a single piece of translucent stone that glowed softly in the sunlight. Thousands of Koth gathered to welcome Empress Hara home. They chanted in their chiming language, a sound like music filling the air. When the crowd saw Tae Yang carrying Nabi, a hush fell. A human, the enemy, walking freely beside their empress, holding their heir. Then Hara spoke. Her voice carried across the plaza through amplifiers. She told them everything, how humans had saved her and Nabi, how they had exposed Vakan's crimes, how one human medic had chosen compassion over hatred. She gestured to Tae Yang. "This man heard my daughter crying and chose to help. He risked his life, his honor, everything to protect us. He represents the best of humanity, and he is my friend." The crowd was silent for a moment. Then slowly they began to chime in approval. It started with a few voices and grew into a chorus. They were accepting him, welcoming him. Nabi waved at the crowd, delighted by all the attention. "Hi," she called out in human language, then repeated it in Kolth. The crowd loved it. Their heir, speaking both languages, comfortable with both species. The first months in the palace were an adjustment. Tae Yang had his own suite of rooms, designed to be comfortable for humans. Bora and Dae Hyun had quarters nearby. They formed Earth's official embassy to the Kolth Empire, though their staff was just the three of them for now. The work was constant. Meetings with Kolth nobles who wanted to understand humans better. Negotiations over trade agreements and cultural exchanges. Helping human refugees who wanted to return home, and Kolth refugees who needed assistance. It was exhausting but meaningful. But the most important part of Tae Yang's day was always the time with Nabi. He woke her each morning, fed her breakfast, and played with her in the palace gardens. She was 2 years old now, walking confidently and speaking in full sentences in both languages. "Papa, watch," she called one morning. She had learned to climb a tree, a skill that gave him heart attacks every time. But she was fearless, scaling branches with the natural agility of her species. "I see you. Be careful." She laughed and climbed higher. "Papa worries too much." Hera found them there. She had been empress for 3 months now, and the role suited her. She was strong, fair, and beloved by her people. But she always made time for her daughter. "She's right," Hera said. "You do worry too much." "Someone has to. She's going to give me a heart attack one day." They watched Nabi play together. It was comfortable, this strange family they had formed. Not traditional by any species standards, but it worked. "The council wants to formalize your position," Hera said. "They want to name you officially as Nabi's guardian and protector. In Kolth culture, it's an honored role. You would have authority to make decisions about her welfare." "I already do that." "Yes, but this would make it legal and binding. It would also give you more political power. Some nobles are uncomfortable with a human having so much influence. Making it official would silence them." Tai Yang considered it. "What does Nabi think?" "She's 2. She thinks you're her papa, and that's all that matters to her." He smiled. "Then yes, I accept." The ceremony took place in the palace's great hall. Tai Yang wore formal, diplomatic attire, a blend of human and Kolth styles. He knelt before Empress Hera while she spoke the traditional words, designating him as Nabi's official guardian. When it was done, Nabi ran to him and threw her arms around his neck. "Papa," she said proudly. The audience chimed in approval, but not everyone was happy with the changes. There were still Kolth who saw humans as the enemy, and there were still humans who hated Kolth. Tai Yang received death threats regularly. Security was tight around the embassy and Nabi. The real test came 6 months after their arrival. A group calling themselves the Pure Empire launched attacks on human-friendly Kolth. They were remnants of Vekan's supporters, refusing to accept the new peace. They bombed a cultural center where humans and Kolth were learning about each other's histories. 12 people died from both species. Hera was furious. She mobilized Sulven's forces to hunt down the terrorists, but Tae Yang proposed something different. "Don't just hunt them," he said in a council meeting. "Understand them. These are people who lost loved ones in the war. They're angry and hurting. If we just kill them, we create martyrs. We need to show them a better way." "They murdered innocent people," one noble protested. "They deserve justice." "They deserve trial and punishment under law," Tae Yang agreed. "But they also deserve to understand why peace is better than revenge. Let me talk to them." It was dangerous. The Pure Empire had specifically threatened him, but Hera agreed to let him try. With Sulven's forces providing security, Tae Yang went to meet with captured members of the Pure Empire. They were held in a detention facility, waiting for trial. Most refused to speak to him, but one, a young Kolth named Telvan agreed to a conversation. Telvan was barely older than Dae-Hyun. He had lost his entire family to a human bombing raid, a raid that, it turned out, had been one of Vaken's false flag operations. His own government had killed his family to further the war. "I wanted revenge," Telvan said through a translator. "I wanted all humans to suffer as I suffered." "I understand," Tae-Yang said. "I've met humans who feel the same about Kolth." "Then why do you protect them? Why do you serve their empress?" "Because I met a baby who needed help, and I realized that hate doesn't end with revenge. It just creates more hate." Tae-Yang leaned forward. "Your family died because of Vaken's lies. Don't honor them by continuing those lies. Honor them by building a world where no other families have to die." Telvan was silent for a long time. "How? How do I stop hating?" "You start small. You meet one person from the other side. You learn their story. You see them as a person, not an enemy. It's hard. It's the hardest thing you'll ever do, but it's worth it." Over the next weeks, Tae-Yang arranged meetings between Pure Empire prisoners and human volunteers. People who had lost loved ones on both sides, talking about their pain, finding common ground in their grief. It didn't work with everyone. Some prisoners remained committed to violence. But Telvan changed. He agreed to testify against the Pure Empire's leadership. He agreed to speak publicly about how he had been manipulated by grief and lies. His testimony helped break the Pure Empire's support. Without new recruits believing their propaganda, the organization crumbled. Sulven's forces captured the leadership, and they were tried for their crimes. The incident made Tae-Yang famous throughout the Kolth Empire. Some saw him as a hero. Others still saw him as an enemy who had infiltrated their government. But everyone knew his name. Back on Earth, his story was equally controversial. Some praised him as a bridge builder. Others called him a traitor who had abandoned his species. His family received harassment from both supporters and detractors, but Tae-Yang stayed focused on what mattered. Nabi, now 3 years old, was growing into a bright, curious child. She loved learning about both human and Kolth cultures. She asked endless questions about everything. "Papa, why are some people mean?" she asked one day after hearing about the Pure Empire. "How do you explain violence and hatred to a 3-year-old?" Tae-Yang tried his best. "Because they're hurt and scared. When people are hurt, sometimes they hurt others. But that doesn't make it right. Can we help them not be hurt? We're trying, little one. That's what peace is about." She thought about this seriously. "I want to help too. When I'm big. You will. You're going to be an amazing empress someday." A year passed, then another. The peace held, though it was fragile. Trade between Earth and the Kolth Empire increased. Cultural exchanges became common. Human students studied in Kolth universities, and Kolth students went to Earth. Bo-Ra became Earth's official ambassador, with Tae-Yang as her deputy. She was brilliant at diplomacy, building relationships with Kolth nobles and officials. Dae-Hyun ran the embassy's communications, managing the flow of information between Earth and the Kolth homeworld. On Nabi's 5th birthday, they held a celebration in the palace gardens. Human and Kolth children played together, their parents watching nervously at first, then relaxing as they saw how naturally the children got along. Nabi wore a dress that combined human and Kolth styles. She ran from group to group, speaking both languages fluently, making everyone smile. She was becoming a symbol of the new era, a bridge between two species. Captain Myung-Soo Han came to the celebration. He had continued his work with refugees and had become an advocate for reconciliation. He brought a gift for Nabi, a book of human and Kolth folktales side by side, showing how both species had similar stories about courage and kindness. "Thank you," Nabi said politely. Then, because she was 5 and observant, she asked, "Were you the man who tried to shoot Papa?" The adults froze. Myung-soo looked pained. Yes, I was, and I'm very sorry for that. Why did you try to hurt him? Because I was angry and sad. I blamed the wrong people for my pain. Nabi considered this. But you're better now? I'm trying to be better every day. She smiled at him. That's good. Papa says trying is important. Then she ran off to play with her friends, leaving the adults to marvel at her simple wisdom. Myung-soo looked at Tae-yang. She's remarkable. She gives me hope, Tae-yang replied. Her generation won't have the hatred we had. They'll grow up knowing both species as friends. That's worth everything we went through to get here. As the celebration continued, Tae-yang found a quiet moment with Hara. They watched Nabi play, so happy and carefree. Do you regret it? Hara asked. Leaving Earth? Giving up your old life? He thought about it honestly. Sometimes I miss my family. My sister's children are growing up without knowing me. But no, I don't regret it. This is where I'm supposed to be. Nabi loves you. She tells everyone you're her papa. I love her too, more than I thought possible. Hara's expression was soft. You changed everything, Tae-yang. One act of compassion, and you changed the course of history. I just helped a baby who was crying. That's what makes it so powerful. You didn't do it for glory or politics. You did it because it was right. She paused. The galaxy needs more people like you. In the garden, Nabi was teaching human children a Kalth game, while Kalth children learned a human song. They laughed together, played together, found joy in their differences rather than fear. This was the future they had fought for. This was what Wu Jin had died for. This was why peace mattered. 2 more years passed. Nabi was 7 now, studying with both human and Kalth tutors. She was preparing for her eventual role as empress, learning history, politics, and diplomacy. But she was still a child, still playful and curious. She had grown close to Tae-yang's niece, who visited from Earth. The 2 girls were the same age and became inseparable friends despite living on different worlds. Video calls between them were constant. Papa, can Mina come live here? Nabi asked. She has her own family, her own home. But I want her close. She's my best friend. Best friends don't have to be in the same place to care about each other. The Treaty of Haven Point had held for 3 years now. It was being renewed and expanded. New agreements covered environmental cooperation, scientific research, and military coordination against common threats, like the pirates who didn't respect the peace. Prince Vacon was finally captured in the Outer Rim. He was tried by an international court, with judges from Earth, the Kalth Empire, and the Collective. He was found guilty of war crimes and sentenced to life imprisonment. When Nabi heard the news, she asked, "Is that my uncle? The bad one Mama talks about?" "Yes," Tae-yang said. "I'm glad he can't hurt anyone anymore." "But I'm sad, too. He's Mama's brother. That must make her sad." Her empathy, even for someone who had tried to kill her mother, was remarkable. She understood that people were complicated, that even criminals could be loved by someone. On the 5th anniversary of the Treaty of Haven Point, a grand ceremony was held at the spot where it had been signed. Leaders from Earth, the Kalth Empire, and the Collective gathered. Tae-yang was invited to speak. He stood before the assembled dignitaries with Nabi beside him. She insisted on coming, wanting to be part of history. 5 years ago, I was a soldier in a war I didn't fully understand, he began. I followed orders. I fought enemies I had never met. Then I heard a baby crying and everything changed. He told the story again, but it never got old. People needed to hear it, needed to remember how peace had started with one simple act. The lesson isn't about me, he concluded. It's about what we all can do. Every day we have choices. We can choose hate or understanding, revenge or reconciliation, war or peace. Those choices matter. They shape the world we leave to our children. He gestured to Nabi. This is the next generation. They're growing up in a world where humans and Kolth cooperate instead of fight. They don't understand why we ever saw each other as enemies. That's how we know we succeeded. When the next generation can't imagine the hatred we knew, that's when we've truly achieved peace. Nabi spoke next, her young voice clear. She had insisted on saying something, had written her own speech with help from her tutors. I don't remember the war, she said. I only know peace. I have human friends and Kolth friends. They're all just friends to me. I hope when I'm Empress, I can keep this peace forever. I hope I can make Papa proud. There wasn't a dry eye in the audience. That night, back at the palace, Tai Yang tucked Nabi into bed. She was getting too old for this ritual, but they both still enjoyed it. Papa, tell me the story, she asked. Which story? The story of how you saved me and Mama. He told it, as he had many times. The crashed shuttle, the decision to help, the journey across hostile territory, the moment they reached safety. She knew it by heart, but she never tired of hearing it. And that's how you became my papa, she finished when he was done. That's how we became a family, he corrected. She was quiet for a moment. Papa, when I'm Empress, will you still be with me? Always, little one, for as long as you need me. Forever then. I'll always need you. He kissed her forehead. Then forever it is. She fell asleep smiling. Tai Yang stood in the doorway, watching her peaceful rest. This child who had changed everything. This child who represented hope for the future. Hara found him there. You're an excellent father. I just try to do right by her. You do more than that. You show her every day what it means to be compassionate, brave, and kind. Those are the qualities that will make her a great empress. They walked to the palace balcony. Below, the capital city glowed with lights. Human and Kolth lived there together now, the first truly integrated city in the galaxy. We did it, Hara said softly. We actually created peace. We created the possibility of peace, Tai Yang corrected. It's fragile. It needs work every day. But yes, we did it. What do you think the future holds? He thought about Nabi and her generation. About children who would grow up knowing both species as partners, not enemies. About a galaxy that was learning, slowly, to see beyond differences to the common humanity that all sentient beings shared. I think, he said finally, that it's going to be better than anything we can imagine, because we had the courage to choose compassion when it would have been easier to choose hate. Hara nodded. Thank you, Tai Yang, for everything, for saving us, for staying, for showing my people what humanity truly is. Thank you for trusting me, for letting me be part of Nabi's life, for believing that peace was possible. They stood together looking at the stars. Somewhere out there, on Earth. Human children were growing up learning about Kolth culture, and on the Kolth homeworld, Kolth children were learning about humanity. The seeds of lasting peace were being planted. Inside, Nabi slept, dreaming of a future where different species lived together in harmony, a future that had seemed impossible just 5 years ago, a future that had started with a baby's cry and a soldier's compassion. The galaxy was changing. One heart at a time, one act of kindness at a time, one choice at a time. And it all began because Taeyang Kim heard a baby crying and decided to help. That simple act had changed everything.